You've probably heard about Bishop Marianne Edgar Budde speaking Christian truth to power during Trump's inauguration church service on MLK Day. She may be your new hero. Lots of people feel that way. You might have missed this about the cruel coincidence of the inauguration landing on Martin Luther King Day. Jerry Falwell's moral majority movement is arguably the beginning of Trumpism. But did you know that Jerry Falwell was imitating Martin Luther King, who showed that you can use religion to motivate political action? Did you know that the Heritage Foundation, which brought us Project 2025, is a knockoff of the liberal Brookings Institute? The oppressors parrot the oppressed and run with it. The rich get richer. Their self-funding jive populist oligarchies thrive, while the oppressed have to rely on bake sales. Makes you, or at least me, wonder what we can do about that. When I taught college history, the question would come up, do ideas ever change history? My answer is yes. Science and technological breakthroughs certainly. Beyond that, mostly ideas that enable a faction to cry a proud, confident, "We deserve more and demand change." Obama ran successfully on hope and change. Then again, so did Trump. Turns out we all love crying a confident, "It's time for a change," by which we mean others should change to accommodate us. It's not much fun to cry, "We deserve less." "We deserve more and demand change" has galvanized all social movements, for better or worse. The civil rights movement and the Trump movement, the women's movement and the Nazis, the labor movement and the wealthy libertarians who cry, "Freedom for all," by which they mean a free-for-all, since they'd win if there were no rules. Playing the heroic victim is effortless method acting. Who among us can't summon the feeling that we've been unfairly thwarted? Black lives matter? No, MAGA lives matter. The broligarchy's lives matter. Liberals like claiming that we're critical thinkers, though again, I hear the same thing from Trump supporters. What we mostly mean by it is that we don't buy other people's bullshit. One Trumpy troll had to inform me right out of the box, if there's one thing I know, it's how to spot BS, because I'm a critical thinker. Bold claim. I have a PhD in epistemology, which is basically the philosophy of BS detection. Still, I'd have no business making such a claim. I'm much more naturally critical of other people's thinking than my own. Critiquing other people's confirmation bias is a cakewalk. Lots of us cry unfair when we're inconvenienced and assume that it proves that we're fair-minded. Everybody's ex is a narcissist. Surely some are, but everyone's? That's confirmation bias, which I trace all the way back to the origins of life. To regenerate themselves, organisms eat food, not poison. Apply that to humans and you get confirmation bias, a picky eater preference for ideas that regenerate our confidence over ideas that degenerate our confidence. Therein lies a fundamental psychoproctology suggestion about who's an absolutist. Decent folks of all kinds treat their confirmation bias as a problem they have to manage. Absolutists like Falwell and Trump treat confirmation bias as the solution to all their problems. People often counsel that you can't change other people, you can only change yourself, which is like saying, "Let me persuade you that people are unpersuadable." I'll buy it, but only if paired with the opposite. You can't help but change other people, and mostly when you offer them ways to insist that others change so they don't have to. The scene has suddenly changed because Trump offered enough voters a way to pretend they never have to change. Now the question is whether and how we'll change in response. I advocate a more ambitious change than most, a change in all of us that we're reluctant to make because it means weaning ourselves off moralizing into safer exercise of our hero-victim impulses. I'll call it demoralizing in two senses. To demoralize is to strip the moralizing off of our preferences, which is a demoralizing thing to have to do. Moralizing is pretending that the universe or God is on your side. You hear it everywhere. That's our confirmation bias talking, and it goes way back to the origins of philosophy. Platonism is called idealism. Idealism means two things. There's the familiar meaning, a dream of some perfect utopia or heaven. All our dreams come true. You know, like enlightenment, nirvana, America made great again, or just landing on some safe plateau, rich, beautiful, and famous above it all. The other meaning shows up in academic philosophy. Platonic or philosophical idealism is the sense that there are ideals out there in some other non-physical pie-in-the-sky realm. Plato applied to morality a trick he cribbed from Pythagoras' theorem. Pythagoras looked at a bunch of imperfect man-made triangles and imagined the ideal triangle. Plato wanted to do the same for human ideals. For example, what we still call platonic love. Look at all the imperfect human expressions of love. Triangulate from those imperfect examples to discover ideal love, which Plato suggests would transcend the meat market. Plato did that about friendship, justice, and all sorts of messy, complicated human ideals. Platonic idealism concludes that there are perfect forms or ideals out there in some other realm. We're imperfect copies of those ideals, and the goal is to get as close as we can to them. It's no wonder that the first speculations in writing are idealistic in both senses. That dream of an unconditional happily ever after is in our bones. I mean, what organism wouldn't want to just plow through to get whatever it wants with the universe ideals as its handmaiden? Humans can imagine it and believe in it. I've got a buddy who's both a Catholic priest and the chief astronomer to the Vatican. He talks like that. His life mission is to fulfill God's will. I asked him what it was. He said he didn't know. I asked him an old theological question. If you're anxious, how do you know whether that's God or the devil nagging at you? He said for him it's God because he's good to his family. I said mafia bosses are good to their family. The conversation ended there. You hear idealism everywhere. What would Jesus do? Or I have a dream, though more like God, the all-round ideal being, sent me a dream, my marching orders. Or the arc of the universe bends towards justice. Or I hate religion, but I believe in a higher power that wants what I want. In other words, I know the ideal, and it's on my side. I'm working toward the inevitable, but since it's inevitable, I don't have to work too hard for it. It'll happen anyway. To demoralize is to get over that stuff. Admit you have preferences. Fight for them. But stop pretending you know what the universe wants. The universe isn't on anyone's side, not even yours or mine. I know that's terribly disappointing and downright demoralizing. It's like suddenly becoming an orphan. Nobody here but us chickens, so scared from birth that we crave a name-droppable cosmic parental ally, bearded or spiritually trimmed, who will come to our defense and guarantee we win in the end. Most folks know Plato's cave story. If you don't, you probably know the Matrix version of it. You've got delusional sheeple chained inside a cave, being taught lies by evil gaslighters. But a hero escapes. He sees the light and gets awakened to fundamental eternal truths. He rescues the deluded, oppressed prisoners in the cave from the evil gaslighters. It's his duty as the philosopher king who has seen the light. Does that remind you of anyone? It reminds me of lots of people, but these days, most of all, it reminds me of Trump and his ultra-woke movement. The Bible says in the beginning was the Word. I say in the beginning of humans was the Word, not before them, and words that from the get-go tended to be presented as last words, the word from on high, from God, the truth, the light, and the way, or the universe, doesn't matter. In the beginning of the written word, you get religious and Platonic last words, which say more about human appetites and motivations than they do about what's actually true. We all have an idealistic bias that becomes flagrant the more anxious we are. To me, an ideal expresses intense, innate human hunger. Human life is complicated, iffy guesswork. It would be even without the clusterfuck of different people and cliques clashing, self-flattering last word ideals. In the beginning of humankind was the Tower of Babel and the last word paradox. Words conjure ideas that make us anxious. We reassure ourselves with idealistic last words that further words make impossible. Quite the clusterfuck, with all us philosopher kings pretending we've seen different flashy, clashing lights. Humans have been around for a blip in geological history. It could well be, in the end was the word. This craving for idealistic last words may be the last word on humans. Everybody wants their exceptional dignity. Everybody wants their distinctive last word, or to pile on to some popular last word like Christianity with its 45,000 separate and clashing sects. It's all like, Eureka, I've discovered the formula. Though we're all human, there's a kind that's superior. Guess which? My kind. Wow, how'd you guess? I could end here by Shermanizing that we should all dismount our high horses, get over ourselves, and become egoless like me. But that's the same old bullshit. I'm going to take a papyrus from Plato, who appreciated what he called the noble lie, though I'd call it the self-ennobling lie. For example, the American exceptionalist dream, or Maga's version, which, like all exceptionalist dreams, tend to become nightmares. I believe that it's time for a change in how we deal with these self-ennobling, idealistic lies. Or at least the time is up for not changing how we deal with them. By playing exceptionalist heroes, we have chewed through what fat of the land we long pretended was our God-given inheritance because we're exceptional. I'm not preaching, let's all drop our vanity on the count of three. Impossible. Not going to happen. We all need our self-ennobling lies. Being human is hard as hell. We need mojo pit stops just to replenish our mojo. To me, the self-ennobling lie is a human necessity about which we're all a little touchy. The lie is the claim that we've seen the light, Plato's style, and that we're therefore noble above the fray. I think we need that lie about our exceptional nobility, but it's best exercised in fiction, and especially entertainment. It is a lie, and we need to remember that it is, or else it goes to our head. Here again, I'm advocating off-jerking, safely acting like a noble know-it-all jerk in fiction, not real life, where you're not any more noble or superhuman than the next anxious human who claims they are. Whatever fiction you want, some like spectator sports, some like church, some like video games, some like porn. I aim to demote the highfalutin self-ennobling fictions like religion or spirituality to an elevated status that I hold for all egotainment fictions. In short, much as I respect the bishop's boldness and share her preferences, I'm not posting memes that make me feel like I'm her or her God's ally. I don't trust such self-ennobling lies in the public sphere. Everyone grandstanding about having woke up and seen the light. We can't afford it anymore. Admit you need it, just like everyone else. Do it safely and then zip up and get back to reality where the universe isn't picking sides. Yeah, I know you get a bigger buzz by pretending you've seen the light that's more real than reality, like the Trumpies do. But to me, that's like assuming Batman loves you and that anyone who disappoints you is evil for disappointing him. That's moralizing bullshit. Time to strip that moralizing the universe is on my side crap off our preferences. As I've said many times before, self-love is a human necessity, but get a room and don't let it go to your head. One last thing. If you're stuck dealing with someone who is self-ennobling at your expense, pretending the universe is on their side to win all debates with you, get in touch for a free half-hour strategic consulting session on how to deal with them. I'm a strategic consultant specialized in just that challenge. Who knows? You may be one of those whose ex is actually a narcissist. There's a lot of that going around these days. I have clients who love what they're getting from me that they didn't get from therapists or coaches, which proves that the universe is on my side. See what I did there? I saw it. That's what I mean. Wink. Get ironic. Admit that you believe in religion or whatever other idealization and that you believe in scientific progress. Thanks.